Good morning, everybody. Wow, what a day yesterday was. Let me just close one of these screens because it's gonna drive me nuts here. Okay, so yesterday I produced all kinds of charts and content for CrossFit and had those going out, and got some really nice responses from people. I have added to that. And I've actually added a projection cut line now so that as you're going through your days, you can see who's increasingly more in trouble and who's making their way past that projected cut line. But before I get started, there's some huge news on the women's side. I just saw it come through on Instagram that Kelly Baker is in. She initially missed the cut by only a few points. I think it was by 5 points. I assume that means that Ellie Turner is out. So super unfortunate for her. But if that was her, it shows some courage and actually bowing out while you can't finish and allowing somebody in who now has the opportunity to at least do 3 more events. And actually the run will probably be a pretty decent event for Kelly Baker. Probably not enough to get her in. Yeah, so that's pretty awesome news, at least for Kelly, and sad news for Ellie. I am going to share my screen again to show you the new chart. Share. Okay. So I've combined everybody onto one for this particular chart, just to give you a better sense of who's where. Because the initial charts that I was doing, I was kind of trying to divide the field in half, and who's up, who's down, all that kind of stuff. Now we get a real sense of a delineation. So who is head and shoulders above everybody else? So these tiers start to form, right? So you've got the top 5 who have really kind of separated themselves already. So you've got Emma Lawson, Alexis Raptis, Laura Horvath, and Alex Gazan, and Ariel Lowen, who are really, a good chunk above everybody else and are really setting themselves up well for that podium run over the next 2 days. It's amazing we're only halfway through, but there's a lot that can still happen. Then you got that next tier down of Jamie Simmons, Annie Thorisdottir, Bethany Flores, Emma Tall, and this runs all the way down to about 15th place. So you've got this whole swath of people here between Bethany and Catherine, who are all just 30-35 points apart. And then we start getting into the people who I think are a little bit more in trouble. I wouldn't say Emma Carey is in this scenario, but basically everybody from about Paige Semenza, at least Fuliano, they're probably all right. But when you start falling off here, this is the danger zone. Olivia Kerstetter, not a great runner. She's probably going to lose some points here. Bailey Rail should do well in the run. But this is where things get a little messy. So everybody in here is kind of like they still have a shot. The further down you go here, you've got to kill it. Now it only takes one really good event to get yourself back in it, and then a couple of average performances. But I just don't see that happening. Like Sydney Wells is probably going to have a home run in this in the run event. I'm guessing probably top 3, top 4, something like that. But she's already 50 points plus behind the cut line. So to give you a sense of that, she's got to basically win that event and then have 2 50 or 60 point place finishes just to be on the cut line, just to be close. And as you can see, I've actually added a projected cut line here of 400 points. So basically everybody who's over this, they're already safe as long as they don't get hurt. Anybody else who's in this section here, they just have to, do what they're doing, and they're going to clear that for sure. But there's these people here at the bottom who just don't have enough to get them over that line. Anyways, so super curious to see how this goes. But I'll be updating these throughout the day again on my IG, so that you'll be able to follow along and see who is in, who is out, who is in trouble. Let's take a check out of let's check out the men here. Now, I find the men super interesting because, hold on, let's get a little bit bigger here. I mean, Roman's running away with things. It's ridiculous. And then, I mean, the top three here, they've kind of started separating themselves a little bit, but there is so much still to happen, especially on day 2. You've got the long run, you've got the big lifts, and then you've got a very CrossFit-y engine kind of test with all the burpee box jump overs and whatnot. So I look at this and I see that there's so much more that can actually shift and change, especially in this top 10 range, all the way down to about Colton Mertens. These top 12, I see ending up essentially in the top 10 by the end of today. I don't see them moving anywhere. I just see them kind of like shuffling, and maybe even this top 10 even getting even tighter together. And Roman will probably still have at least a 60-point lead going into tomorrow. What I wanted to indicate here, though, is, like, again, you start to see how things are kind of leveling out. You can see how who's in trouble, who's not. But I honestly don't see much changing when you get down to the bottom. I think the people who are going to be fighting for a spot will be Moritz Fiebig, Uldis Upenix, Nick Matthew, and Samuel Kwan. I don't see anybody else really pushing for this to make the cut, to make the top 20. I was actually taking a quick look at like Samuel Kwan, because I see him as being kind of like the one outsider who's got a shot to do this. But for him to do that, he still needs to get about 220 points to make it through. So that's essentially 70, 80 points every event. It essentially means he needs to get a 10th place finish or better in the next 3 events. That's the lift, that's the run, and that's the box jump over workout. So can you imagine him actually getting 10th or better on all 3 of those? I doubt it. So I think things are pretty well set. I don't see how any of these bottom from 22 on, from Quant, Sprague, Haynes, Sharanke, Bronislaw, Hepelainen, Parker, Farlow, Benito, I don't see any of them really pushing for this. I think everything really hinges on Moritz Fiebig, Upenix, and Nick Matthew. Who's going to be the one who's going to be able to outduel each other? And they're only a handful of points apart. 285 to 269, 16 points. It's not that much. So that looks super interesting, and I would keep your eye on those 3 to see who can push this. All right, so that's it for the men. As for the teams, I haven't really spent much time on them. I have struggled to maintain and keep these charts flowing. But I'm gonna have to go back and watch them, because I just have another time to watch. But again, I've set a projection line of about 410 for this particular for the teams. So if you're into that stuff, check out my IG. I'm still throwing them up there. But as you can see, these bottom tier teams, I don't think they just don't have it to get the points. You're really focused on probably your 19th, 20th, 21st, and maybe 22nd team. So you've got Invictus Unconquerable, the Grit Haas, Torian Mayhem, and the Army team here. Those are the only ones I see actually having a shot at pulling through. There's just too much ground to make up, and not enough people to get in between. So good luck, teams. Good luck, women. Good luck, men. And I'm super pumped to go through another full day of CrossFit Games, and let's see how things shake out. Take care, everybody.